The craft displayed in these images represents a sophisticated intersection of organic raw materials and high-tech chemical synthesis, often referred to as high-end epoxy resin woodworking or functional art furniture making, which has recently transformed the landscape of modern interior design into something far more sculptural and personalized than traditional carpentry. When observing these videos and images from a critical and technical perspective, one must first acknowledge that this is a form of staged craftsmanship, where the process of creation is just as much a product as the final physical object itself, because the visual appeal of liquid resin flowing into the jagged crevices of ancient wood grain taps into a primal human fascination with fluid dynamics and the preservation of nature. This specific movement in design is rooted in the live edge philosophy, which celebrates the natural periphery of the tree, including its knots, decays, and imperfections, but it elevates this by encasing these vulnerable elements in a high-strength polymer that is essentially a synthetic amber for the modern age. Critically speaking, the trend is a direct response to the era of mass-produced flat-pack furniture, as it offers the consumer a one-of-one guarantee where no two slabs of wood will ever interact with the resin pigments in the exact same way twice, providing an elite level of exclusivity. From a technical standpoint, the cost of entry for this work is exceptionally high, not just because of the raw timber, which can cost thousands of dollars for a rare species like black walnut or olive wood, but because of the epoxy resin itself, which is a volatile and expensive chemical compound requiring precise mixing ratios, usually measured by weight down to the gram, to ensure structural integrity. A critical analysis of the production process reveals a hidden layer of extreme difficulty that the short viral clips often gloss over, such as the necessity of a climate-controlled environment, because epoxy is hypersensitive to ambient temperature and humidity, where a single drop of sweat or a stray dust particle can ruin a finish that took weeks to prepare. Furthermore, the physical labor involved in the sanding phase is monumental, starting from a coarse 80 grit to level the surface and progressing through dozens of stages up to a 3,000 grit polish, followed by buffing compounds to achieve that liquid glass transparency seen in the videos. This work also demands a deep understanding of physics and light, because the way the resin is tinted with metallic powders or translucent dyes must account for how light will travel through the piece once it is placed in a domestic setting, often requiring integrated LED systems that must be wired into the wood before the pour begins. For someone looking to start this journey independently, it is a path of trial and error that begins with small-scale charcuterie boards to understand the exothermic reaction of the resin, which generates its own heat and can literally crack or smoke if poured too thick in a single session. The investment in tools is another significant barrier, requiring heavy-duty planers, industrial sanders, and specialized vacuum chambers or pressure pots to remove microscopic air bubbles that threaten the clarity of the work. While critics might argue that the heavy use of plastics is environmentally taxing, proponents of the craft argue that it gives a second life to waste wood that would otherwise be burned or chipped, turning a decaying log into a multi-generational heirloom. Ultimately, this art form is a testament to the human desire to control and polish the chaos of nature, creating a surrealist domestic environment where a ceiling might look like a cloud or a floor might look like a frozen river, making the home not just a shelter, but a curated gallery of impossible textures. The exploration of this medium extends far beyond the mere physical assembly of wood and chemical polymers. It is a profound study in the manipulation of light and depth that challenges our traditional perceptions of domestic space and materiality. When we analyze the viral nature of these projects, we see a masterful use of visual tension, where the artisan deliberately places heavy, rugged, and weathered timber inside a medium that is ostensibly invisible, yet structurally rock solid, creating an illusion of suspension that captivates the human eye. This technique requires a mastery of refractive indices, as the craftsman must predict how the resin will distort the appearance of the wood's grain once submerged, often using vacuum degasification to ensure that not a single microscopic bubble remains to betray the illusion of solid glass. Beyond the furniture itself, the expansion of this art into architectural features like the cloud ceilings or integrated branch lighting seen in the frames marks a shift toward immersive environments, where the boundary between the outdoors and the indoors is blurred through synthetic intervention. From a critical economic perspective, this craft has birthed a new class of maker-influencers who monetize the process as much as the product, turning the workshop into a stage where the rhythmic sanding and the dramatic reveal of the first oil coat serve as a form of digital ASMR that justifies the premium price tags associated with the work. For the aspiring DIY creator, the hidden challenge lies in the long-term stability of these materials, as wood is a living, breathing substance that expands and contracts with the seasons, while resin is a rigid plastic. If the wood is not properly kiln-dried or if the internal stresses are not calculated, the piece can literally tear itself apart over time, making the engineering aspect just as vital as the aesthetic one. The cost continues to scale with the ambition of the project, as large-scale pours can involve deep cast resins that are formulated to cure slowly over several days to prevent the massive heat buildup, known as an exothermic peak, that could otherwise lead to yellowing or internal scorching. Furthermore, the integration of smart technology such as sound-reactive LED strips or hidden wireless charging pads beneath the resin surface is the next frontier for this craft, turning a static table into a piece of interactive hardware. This evolution suggests that the future of interior design lies in this neo-industrial alchemy, where the artisan is no longer just a builder, but a chemist, a lighting engineer, and a storyteller who uses the medium of epoxy to freeze a moment of natural beauty in a permanent, polished state of perfection.